Alright, welcome back. In this video I'm going to be going over how to set up a block explorer for your clone. But before I go into that, I'd like to say thank you for the very positive feedback on my series on making the clone. And I'm kind of sorry for people who have been getting a lot of unanswered questions from me. I mean, I tried to give tech support when the tutorials first launched, but now it's gotten a little overwhelming. So sorry about that. But anyway, let's get started here. So when you make your block explorer, assuming you want other people to be able to use it easily, the best route is probably VPS. Which, once again, if you are interested in using VPS, I'll post you a little referral link in the description of the video to get you $10 worth of credit. And additionally, I'll post a link to the VPS that Funcoin is operating on so you can see Funcoin's Block Explorer. But for this video, I'm going to be just doing it on one of my virtual machines because I've already got a VPS server started. So anyway, let's begin. Alright, so I'm going to drag my amazing Bitwise terminal over here. Alright, now the step one is we got some more dependencies to go on ahead and install. So I'm going to do that real quick. And just like last time in the other videos, I will put a bunch of cheat sheets in a paste bin, or shortcuts in a paste bin thingy. Anyway, so whole updates field, just always do sudo apt-get update when you do stuff like this. And then the first thing we need is Nodejs. In this case, we actually want the legacy version because the newer one does not get along very well with Iquidus, which is the name of the block explorer we'll be using, by the way. Just do that, and these shouldn't take too long to install, so I don't have to cut the video. And then after that, we get to go and get npm, which if my local cheat sheet wants to cooperate, I can get that. So yeah, installing dependencies is not exactly very exciting. I figured I might do it, and if you notice the difference in clickety-clackety my keyboard, I got a mechanical one. So excited. Alright, anyway, and then we run our other Linux housekeeping command thingy. Okay, and then we want MongoDB. Here we go. I know, so much skill. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Alright, and continuing with MongoDB. There we are. And then, just like last time, sudo apt-get update. And then, sudo apt-get install MongoDB org. Yay! It's working. Maybe I should have installed this in advance while it's too late now. Okay, it should be wrapping up in just a minute. Okay, now we're actually just going to start the Mongo server. There we go. Yay, it started. Woo! And one more dependency before we go into the Mongo database to actually start the setup. We're going to install something called Forever, which is going to let the Block Explorer run even when you disconnect from your VPS or whatever. Just go get Forever. You'll get some warnings. You can ignore them. You might even get some errors. You can ignore them too. Alright. So as soon as that's done, there we are. Now we're going to go into the Mongo CLI by doing that. Huzzah! We are here. You can ignore the warnings once again. Now we're going to do this. Switch to ExplorerDB. Now we're going to set up the database. And we're going to create the user that the Block Explorer is going to use, and we do that with this. These are the defaults that Iquidus will use. You can make them anything you want, as long as you remember the username and the password, because you will need them later. I'm just going to use the defaults because I've got some already. Successfully added, yay! And now we can exit. Alright, and now we actually want to go and get the Block Explorer. We're going to get it from GitHub. Oops, one second. Okay, we're actually going to get it from GitHub. There we are. Yeah, this is also assuming you've already got Git installed on your machine. If you follow my other tutorials, you almost certainly do. And now we're going to get the node modules for Iquidus. So we just do this. Make sure you're in your root directory or your home directory. Yeah, not your root directory, your home directory, sorry. Get some more pretty warnings of a bunch of cool colors, maybe even some errors, but you know what? They're of no consequence to us. We're better than them. Okay. Go, 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 go. Yep, there are the errors. Don't worry about those. We should still be fine. And next up, we're going to do this, which what this is going to do is this is going to copy the settings template in Iquidus to a different file. So do that. And now we actually can start editing the settings file, but before we get into that, we want to make sure we have all the information that we want. Before you start doing this, you should already have an instance of your coin installed on your VPS, and make sure the configuration is properly set up. I'll go over all that in just a second. So there are two ways we can edit this file. One is using the command line based text editor called Nano, which you could do, but it's kind of a pain. So if you're like me and you're using an SSH client like Bitvise, what you can do is, you can actually use a local text editor on your machine. So for my case, this is the wrong, oh no, this is correct, never mind. And we're gonna refresh this. And we're gonna go to Explore, settings.json, that's how I say it. And you can edit it with something else. In my case, I have a Notepad++. Okay, and it's flipping out at me for something I didn't do. Anyway, okay, one moment. Here we are. All right, so this is, probably should have cleaned up my Notepad++ window. Too late now. Anyway, this is the all-important settings. So we're going to change it to the title of the instance. Do whatever your coin is blocked for. You can name this anything you want, but it's probably a good idea to name it something like this. And this part here is the port. Well, this part's pretty important. It's the port that it's going to be operating on. This you can leave. I'm going to leave it at the default yet again. Coin is obviously fun coin. Coin symbol, fun. Again, I shouldn't have to tell you, but change this to your own information. Now this stuff right here. This is for the images that will appear on the Block Explorer's webpage. You can find these images. I'm going to actually use the VM's desktop to show you where to find them because it's probably a little easier. But you can find these images in, here we are. So you go into Explorer and you'll see them over here in the public folder. Here's the favicon. If you've made a coin, and you should have a favicon already, it's just a .ico. Put your own in, and in images you'll see the logo.png. Put this swap it out with your own. I recommend you use a 128 by 128 icon for this one. Okay. I'm just gonna leave the defaults because just waste time. Now we go down. This is where you can change the theme of the Explorer. There's different. You'll see when it starts up, but it's got some different aesthetics to it. I'm gonna go with Cerulean. That's my favorite. Port. This should be the same as the one up here. I'm gonna leave it. And this is where you would put in the database information. If you change it, since I use the defaults, I'm good. This is all good. This is all good. Now here, we want to change the RPC login information. So in my case, that's 2332. That's the port I'm using, and the RPC login information, which I'm just going to open this on the virtual machine again because it's easier. If you're using a VPS, like I said, you can either use a text editor, a local text editor, if you're using something like Bitvise, or you could use Nano. So one second while I go and find the configuration file. Okay, here we are. So this is the login information, which you should probably make something a little bit more complicated if you're running on a VPS, but those are just the defaults. So I'll put that in here. And on a related note, we're going to want to also make sure we change some more things in here for this to work. RPC allow IP 27.0.0.1 and dx index equals 1. We'll get to that in just a moment. And we're going to save. I'm going to back out. Okay, that's all set. Now there's still some more stuff. This this determines what kind of information will show up on the Explorer's webpage. So this is fine. I'm going to set to false since there is no market data for Funcoin, and if there is, someone please tell me because I have a lot of it. The wish list is actually a pretty cool feature. We're going to leave that to true. Twitter, I don't have a Twitter link to this. I'm going to false. Facebook, same. This is all fine. I will leave this set to true. This, if you followed my clone tutorial, you'll leave all this just the way it is. Now this we're going to have to change, and what this is what it uses to test the API. So we need to go and find a transaction somewhere in our blockchain that we can list here as a reference. So I'm going to fire up my Windows client for Funcoin, and I will show you how you can do this. So as soon as that starts up, all right, here it is. Funcoin. You see, I have a lot of fun. This is a lot of. Anyway, it's not important. Anyway, so what we want to do before we do this, we want to go and find a transaction that we want to use. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to use this one. This is the one and only donation I've got actually using the Funcoin address in my final video. I'm surprised someone actually used it, but I'm going to use this one as a reference. So what I can do is I can show the transaction details over here, and here they are. So there's a couple of bits of information in here we're going to want. One is the address, which I'm going to copy. And this is what we're going to put over here. Paste. Next is the oh, that's not a fun noise. Next is the transaction hash, which is this. Or is it? Let me just make sure real quick. So I'm going to close that now that I have the transaction ID. And I'm going to go here. Once again, we're using the amazing console to help us. So we want to use, find it, this guy right here. Input in what we just got, get transaction ID. Oh, I misspelled transaction, didn't I? I'm just gonna copy and paste that. No need to, or did I misspell it? Hold on, that's a little concerning. Oh, I didn't need the ID at the end. There we are, that's what we want. Okay, so now we have all the transaction information. So I'm just going to take the transaction ID that I just copied before and put it in here. That's the transaction hash. Paste. And now we need the block hash, which was also over here. This little guy. Should probably start using keyboard shortcuts for that. And paste. There we are. Alright, and now we need the block height. So using the block hash that I just copied, you can use get block and just paste in the block hash. You can see it has height 2092. So that is the height. That would be block index in this case. And that's what it calls it. This you can ignore because you're probably not using markets. Good for you if you are. This you can just leave. What this does is it has a utility where it'll show you large movements of coins on the blockchain, and this is right. Yeah, I believe this is the minimum amount that would constitute a movement. This would constitute a low movement. Anything below this is low, and anything higher than this is high. You can play with that if you like. And if you do have social media stuff you're putting on here, this is where you would set it up. And now we have to set the Genesis block information up. So I'm going to go back to my coins window. And now I need to get block hash 0. That will get the Genesis block information. So that's get the hash of the Genesis block. So that's my hash. You can copy that. Which is, take this and paste. There's the block hash. Now we need the Genesis transaction hash, which we can get by doing this. And the transaction hash is, since there's only one transaction in here, it's pretty easy to find out which is the right one. Just take that and we put it in here. There we are. And we can just go down, make sure we have everything we want. If you have a smaller coin like me, I would recommend you set this to something lower. I'm going to set it to kilohashes as the default hash rate it shows, or the units of the hash rate it shows. Anything else would just be overkill. Alright, so now that the settings are all set up, I can save this, and it will automatically upload it to my VM. And next thing we need to do is make sure our client is ready to act, or it's ready to talk to the Block Explorer. So I'm going to navigate back, and actually, real quick, make sure that this is actually compiled, because I'm not sure if this one's actually compiled correctly. Alright, it needs to work on a checkpoint, so that shouldn't take too long. But what we need to do is actually re-index all of our transactions and make sure everything is all good to go, so that I can talk to the Block Explorer. So as soon as that finishes compiling, I will go through the re-indexing, which since Funcoin's blockchain isn't that big, it shouldn't take very long at all. If this wishes to compile quickly, I believe it should any second now. Come on, there we go. All right, so now we're going to start with the following. Some of these are kind of redundant, but who cares? Re-index tx index. Do that, and it will hang for a little bit. And what it's going to do is it's going to re-index the whole chain. You need to do this, FYI, because otherwise it's really not going to be able to talk to the Block Explorer. So I'm going to Control C, and it should still be running. Let me just check. Indeed, it is still running. You can see it hasn't finished re-indexing yet. It only sees 107 blocks. So let me make sure it's connected. It might not actually be connected. 1 minute. Oh, that's embarrassing. Alright, fixed it. Yeah, don't be like me. Make sure your node's actually connected to something before you try and use it. Anyway, what was I? Alright, so now it should be ready to talk to our Block Explorer. And that means we can actually fire up our Explorer now and give it a shot. So, I'm going to navigate back to the home directory. Maybe make sure it's here. Yep, this is. Yep, it is. And now we should be able to use npm start to actually start the Explorer. And there it goes. Now I'm going to fire up everyone's favorite browser, Microsoft Edge, and there's a reason I'm doing this, by the way. Microsoft Edge, I can tell you what it is though, to view it. So I'm going to connect to the IP address, my VPS, which, if I remember correctly, is 192.168.0.14, maybe? And then the port, which is 3001. And that might have not been the right address. Let me check on that real quick. Yeah, nope, that was not the right address. Sorry about that. Let me fix that. The correct address. Correct address was 18. Oops. Alright, now correct address. There it is. And you can see this is what the Explorer interface looks like. It's nice and pretty. Yay! You'll notice it's not actually showing anything. How do we fix that fun problem? Well, I will show you. I'm going to open up another terminal window in Bitwise to be able to work with this thing. So if I can just get this to cooperate. Alright, new terminal. Shrink that down. And I'm going to navigate to Explorer. And I'm going to run the following. I'm going to say index, re-index. Now, if we go back, we'll notice, and we refresh the page, we'll notice this time, it has the Genesis block information. Yay, but that's still not good enough. So now we need to run something else here. And that is next update. And you can see now it's going to all the blocks, which I think in the case of Funcoin right now it's like 2130. Yes, it is. And if I refresh this page, you can see it's currently at block 425 as of me clicking on the refresh button. It's loading all of the blocks, and while it's doing that, you'll note, that's kind of an issue, right? We don't want to have to manually fix this every time we want the block explorer to refresh. Well, luckily for us, Linux is pretty great, and there's a solution in the form of cron jobs. So cron jobs are these nifty little things that you can specify more or less certain programs to be executed at certain times, in our case, time intervals. What we're going to do is we're going to make this refresh about every 5 minutes, actually no, 1 minute, and then the peers list is going to refresh every minute. So we can do that. Okay, so we'll get back here, and look, it's done running. So I'm going to navigate out here, and I'm going to do cron tab E, and we're going to want to use nano. Okay, so here's the cron tab. I'm going to go down here because I want to edit it, and we're going to paste in 2 lines. Paste in these 2 lines. Oops, that might not have entered correctly. 1 minute. Let's make sure that's in correctly. There we go. If it does that, just press enter apparently. Neat. Alright, so here's the 2 jobs. That happens at 1 minute and 5 minutes. And what they do is they just update the Explorer. You can refresh or increase the... Oh, those did not enter correctly, unfortunately. Oh, yes, they did. Never mind. It's just the windowing makes it a little weird. Alright, sorry for that. Okay, now you're going to press Control X. Yes, save it. Save. Yay, it's done. So now the cron jobs are running. Now it should update automatically, and since no one's mining FunCoin right now, I'm definitely not mining FunCoin right now. It's not going to refresh, but I can. I'll start my client miner just to prove to you that this works. Alright, now I'm using 4 of my CPU cores. Alright, but while it's doing that, there is one more thing we have to do, and that's sort of similar to cron job. We need to make sure that this process right here actually runs forever. So if I were to disconnect from in my case, the virtual machine right now, it would stop. You can see it's updating. It would stop. The process would die, and you'd no longer have a nice and pretty web page. So we want to solve that, and that's why we installed forever. So I'm going to use Control C to kill this, and it's going to shut down. And now we're going to run this little guy and make sure we're in the directory of Explorer. So forever starts the npm start. Press enter, and forever will start. Now I can log out of the machine, and I will still find my block explorer running when I come back. So I can do forever list, and I will see the process running. And if you ever want to kill it, you can use this information. So forever stop QOQI, and it will shut down. All right, now let's see if I found any more fun in the meantime. Probably have. Yeah, I definitely have. All right, so let's see if the block explorer has refreshed, or if it's still alive rather. Refresh this. I'll give it some time. All right, but anyway, that's it. Pretty much it. You just connect to the IP address. Make sure you specify the port you're connecting to see it. And if you're not using this on a VPS, make sure that the port is open on your network so people can actually connect to it. Unfortunately, using port 80, the port where web pages usually operate on, can be a little tricky. So it's generally just a good idea to avoid it. And as I mentioned earlier, FunCoin's Block Explorer will be linked in the description. That is running on a VPS actually, as well as a cheat sheet containing all the stuff you'll need to copy and paste to get this thing working. Yep, there it goes. See? The cron job's working. Alright, well, thank you for joining me. See you later.